Dickerson retired yesterday at age 35. I am not here to make a big deal out of that, and I'm not going to commit the episode to it. But it did make me think about something that I want to share today. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. When I think of Dickerson's brief time with the Pirates, and it was brief, and it was largely uneventful, he was a good hitter for the team, but we're talking about 5 years ago, team didn't go anywhere, blah, blah, blah. I think of two things. One is that he was really, really a great mentor to Brian Reynolds when Reynolds first arrived, and Reynolds really appreciated it and absorbed so much, not just about hitting, but about how to play a corner outfield spot. There was a game at Citi Field in New York, I want to say this was about 3 years ago, where there was this really bizarre high hop off of a Texas League single that landed just inside the chalk there. And Reynolds played it beautifully, fielded the hop when it came down, way down, and fired it to second base and nailed the guy there trying to take an extra bag. And I asked Reynolds afterward, "What was that? It almost looked like you practiced it." He said, "I did. It was something that Cory Dickerson taught me." To which I naturally responded, "Why would anybody teach you that? That's such a rare thing." He said, "That's the way that guy was." Two, Dickerson might be, at least to my mind, and please remember that when I'm talking about baseball, I'm talking about the Pirates and almost nobody else. One of the strange things about baseball, unlike other sports that I cover, is that you don't get to see other teams unless they're playing the Pirates, right? So that's the only baseball that I'll see. Dickerson might be the very last of the truly old school hitters. And I got to tell you, I'm going to miss that. Well, I already do and already have for some time. Those of you who remember Dickerson's time here will know immediately what I'm talking about. There'd be a 2-strike count. He'd choke up. Remember choking up? Remember that was a thing. There was a 2-strike adjustment made by the batter. The batter's hands would go, up the barrel so that they'd be more sure of making contact. They wouldn't just swing out of their shoes and sell out to the strikeout because that's what the advanced metrics tell them that they're supposed to be doing. Because, over the course of a long season, the more often you do that, the more often you hit home runs. The more often you hit home runs, the more often your team wins. Except no, bunk. Seriously, stop that. I don't know who bought that at any point, but it just doesn't sell for the simple reason that the one thing that's been truest about baseball since the dawn of baseball is that the team that scores the most runs wins. So if you're in a position to get a run home, let's say, for example, there's a guy at third, one out. Nobody needs your bleeping home run. They just need contact, routine contact. And yet, in the current all-or-nothing approach that almost all teams, including the Pirates, have embraced, there's no longer any in-between. And I don't mean to sound like I'm in get-off-my-lawn mode. I track the advanced statistics. They do way more good than harm, contrary to popular misperception. And that's a point that I'll make all the time. But this one where hitters can just never adjust, that just blows my mind. I've brought this up. Let's just say I've brought it up a lot with Derek Shelton, usually after a game in which the Pirates could have done something by being more like Cory Dickerson, and they didn't. And they didn't because they were coached, instructed, prepared, really, not to. And they don't talk about it. Shelton will never give a good answer on that, but no manager will ever give a good answer on that. It's because they're a little bit embarrassed about it, I think. I think they realize how counterintuitive it is to conventional wisdom about baseball that they're not exactly going to say, well, listen, we have this team of geeks that we keep over on the third floor, and they go through all this data and they tell us that if we hit 150 home runs for the season, that equals X point X number of wins, regardless of anything else. No. It's the amount of runs that you score. It doesn't matter how they come across the plate. Are home runs important? Yes, I went over that just the other day. You want to have people who are capable of taking bad pitches and destroying them, but you also want to have, I think, your Dickerson types. He finished his career, by the way, with a 280 average, which is like now that makes you Rod Carew, and a 331 on-base percentage. Now, again, in the modern statistics, that on-base is seen as low. His walk total is seen as low. His power total, with only 136 career home runs, is seen as low. Who do you want up there with a guy on third and one out? Who did you want up there with a guy on third and one out when Dickerson was here? How has that just vanished from a game that's called baseball, where the runner is supposed to advance from base to base? That's the object. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Abandon ship, Bob. Sell the team. Are you a Pirates fan who is angry or apathetic about our perennial losing baseball team? Do you feel helpless because you don't know how to make a difference? Well, good news. We have something you can do about it. Join our Sell the Team movement. We're a group of passionate fans voicing our frustration and demanding change through billboard campaigns, press outreach, protests, and involvement at local city government meetings. Go to ourteamnothis.com to get involved.
Today's J1Q comes from Bill, who says, DK, you pointed out on the Tuesday show incorrectly that the Pirates made a good pitching decision for 2024 in bringing Jared Jones to Miami. Seemingly, they also made a bad pitching decision for 2024 by bringing David Bednar to Miami. My question is, which of those two decisions was more impactful toward the 2024 season? I love what Jones did, but the damage to Bednar might have more than offset it. I'm not saying this just because I've been deeply critical of this management team, but if you take your two-time All-Star closer and you turn him into a liability who, in some cases, single-handedly cost you outcomes, that's a rare thing in baseball. It's a team sport. It's hard to have one person swing an outcome by himself, but that's also the closer role. You're coming in with the lead, and if you exit with the other guys leading, that's bad. Bednar did not have a good season. I think we can agree on that. I think we also can agree that Jones was going to arrive at some point regardless. If he had opened the season in Indianapolis, there would have been the usual hooting and hollering, and I'm sure I would have been part of it, about Super 2 arbitration, about how cheap they are, about Bob nutting, and whatever. He would have come up in, late May or early June or something, and he would have still made, I think, the same name and high profile for himself. He's that good. Heck, for all we know, it might have worked out even better for him in terms of managing the injury that he'd ultimately have. So to answer your question in its literal form, I think the Bednar thing was actually a much, much bigger deal. You can't do that. You can't, for anybody who's unfamiliar with it, Bednar missed the final 2 weeks of spring training because of a lat muscle issue, and that involves throwing a baseball. From there, he was sent right to Miami from Bradenton with the team, and he was activated not for opening day, but for the next day, because this way he could avoid a stint on the injured list. To which I say, who cares if he'd had a stint on the injured list or not? You had everybody healthy. You were facing the Marlins. And if you really needed somebody to close it down, you had Aroldis Chapman, Colin Holderman. Everybody was there. Everybody was available. You didn't need to do that. So Bednar throws a couple of side sessions. Everybody says he's fine. He never got into any kind of games, didn't do any rehab on the mound. And yeah, it clearly messed with his command. He was never right. And there's a lot of people who felt that the Pirates really screwed up, meaning people who aren't me. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll do another one of these tomorrow.